Hello. Welcome to the Café Scientifique 11.0. We have one very interesting guest for this time. We have the former Prime Minister of Armenia, Mr Hrant Bagratyan, who's joined us. We're discussing on the topic of an analysis of Europe's Central Asian economic strategies. We've always had different talks on, we had a discussion on Europe's cross-cultural and multicultural diverse countries and the communities and the relationships. We discussed on this. We discussed on the software industry. We discussed on the transformation inside the green transition industries. This time we really intended to have this beautiful discussion on Europe, Armenia, and Central Asian economics and political relationships. And we felt Mr. Hrant Bagratyan is the right person to engage in this conversation with the students. And thereby, I would just give a very brief introduction about Mr. Hrant Bagratyan. He was the Prime Minister of Armenia from February 1993 till the November 1996. And he is also currently the leader of the Freedom Party. Just to share a little bit across what we can hear, listen from his expertises. He's been into the problems of labor motivation. He's been into land privatization, into public and administrative reforms in the emerging markets, privatization of industrial enterprises, liberalization of prices and trade, economic civilization, and with all these things, we welcome you here, sir. We welcome you for this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. I would like to welcome to everybody on audience here. Well, thank you that you have an interest to Armenia, because Armenia is a small country, and sometimes we are not taking any offense when somebody is not realizing us as a country. You know, it's really, in the modern terms, that's a very small country. But also, it was a very big country in the past with its own civilization. We are proud to say that we are first Christian state in the world.
First Christian state in the world.
Christian state in the world. So we have our own alphabet created in 405. Starting from 405, we have manuscripts written by this, used by this alphabet. We are proud of on that. We used to speak Armenian languages, which is Indo-European language. Indo-European language, but the pronunciation is closer to the Greece, or to the languages used in Europe, or Slavonic languages. The same is with the Farsi, the language they used in Iran. Also, the languages Urdu, etc., in Pakistan, and Hindi in India. You know, that's the family. This is the biggest family of languages in the world. 2.8 billion people using these languages. While Armenia, located in South Caucasus, we have 4 neighbors. On the north, we have Georgia. On the west, we have Turkey. On the east, Azerbaijan, and on the south, Iran. Small economy, not very big, something like $14 billion, which creates something like $4,700 per capita. In terms of common calculation, using the PPP coefficient, it becomes $15,000 per capita. Oh, this is Armenia. It's a democratic country, you know, parliamentary democratic country. We used to, because the government is elected in the parliament. When country is a parliament, belongs to the parliamentary system. When the government is elected, one by one, by the parliament.
Now, I think if I would like to ask you, in fact, we've been discussing now, one of the saddest thing is the war is still prolonging in Europe. The Russian-Ukraine war has happened down. It's been one of the saddest things because it leads to a lot of issues. One is the migration crisis which happens, economic destruction that happens. Now, seeing all these things, there was a war that happened 6 months back, also almost around a year back, which happened in Armenia. Armenia and Azerbaijan war was something which the whole world looked upon. Now, did you really find that that war got the attention of the world? And how has Armenia come out of that war and the destruction economically? How do you see this?
To be short, you can never be happy when you have a war.
Yes.
The region of Nagorno-Karabakh is inhabited by autochthonic population of Armenians. They are native there. They are not comers. And they are living there 3,000 years. I'm not going to tell the whole story, how it happened. Starting 1920, Nagorno-Karabakh is as a part of territory of Azerbaijan, but it's of autonomy. It was autonomy. By the rules of the former Soviet Union in 1989, they decided to be independent. And we didn't find a solution with Azerbaijan. And we had 3 wars. Everybody knows that Armenia didn't initiate the wars. The first one was at the beginning of 1990s. We were not attacking. But at the end of this war, we create a security zone around Nagorno-Karabakh. The second war happened 4 days just in 2016. Then again, Azerbaijan decided to solve this issue by force. It was not successful. The third one, 2020, that was a war where Azerbaijan was much more successful than the Armenian part, Armenian side. Azerbaijani army was equipped very well, also they were using strong power of Turkish army in terms of municipation, etc., Israeli army, etc., etc. So maybe from our part it was not managed very good. At the end, we stopped there. That still 3,000 kilometers of Nagorno-Karabakh remains under the control of the Armenian population. And there is a corridor between Armenia and Karabakh controlled by the Russian troops. And this was signed for 5 years. It will take until 2025, November. What is going at the end, we don't know. Formally, in 1993, a Minsk group had been created. There are 3 countries, there are 3 members of the Minsk group: Russia, France, and United States. Well, within these 30 years, they didn't find a solution. What is the problem? You should find a solution, a compromise between 2 principles of the UN Chart. In fact, UN Chart has 3 principles. The first principle is territorial integrity. The second principle is the right of the self-determination. And the third one is right of divided nations to be reunited. It's a right of reunion. Unfortunately, Minsk group, they didn't find the solution within these 30 years. Still, nobody removed Minsk group, their rights, but nowadays they are not working. They are not working very efficiently. On one hand, Azerbaijan said, I practically solved the issue. On the other hand, because of the Russia-Ukrainian wars, Russians cannot cooperate with France and United States. So the situation there is there. It's uncertain. We have an uncertain situation. Well,
so do you feel at any point wars happen between 2 countries because of different reasons, but then there has to be a leadership between countries like the US, Germany, Russia, Turkey, and then the regional leadership as well. China today, India, who should have actually stepped inside to bring inside the countries for a negotiation together. Because do you feel at that point the leadership failed across?
I think so, but let me tell you that China will be never engaged in such a conflict. Never. They don't want. Turkey also couldn't be a part of regulation, couldn't be, because Turkey says that I will do what Azerbaijan says. So that means that Turkey always is ignoring the point of Armenians. What type of role could play Iran? I don't know. So the remaining parts, regional powers like EU, Russia, and the United States, they cannot find a language, especially now, because they don't talk each other. And to be frank with you, as of today, I don't see any bright future here. I don't see any bright future here.
What is the bright future you mean? I would like to, because it might be known to everybody, but if it comes from your side, what is the
ourselves
future?
with Azerbaijan, we cannot come to conclusion. Let's find a compromise. Somebody has to come and say, oh guys, this should be compromise. What they did in terms of Kosovo, they said Kosovo has to create its own state. As to your information, it was 2004, 2005, but very recently there is a special court under control of UN which was discussing the case of Kosovo, and the claimant was Serbia. And the court decision is as follows: every nation has a right for self-determination. If this nation is not a guest is autochtonic, is a native. In this case, if you ignore their right for self-determination and trying to use forces to keep that under pressure, in this case they don't have to even apply for the self-determination. So the court's decision was Kosovo population is right, and that's it, that's all. I'm not sure that the same could happen with our Nagorno-Karabakh region, but you know, at least in this case there was some solution. Serbian party is not happy with that. Kosovo, of course, is happy with that. So, but even the international rules, they are not clear enough. You know, you cannot understand. You know, it's a game. It's a game. My understanding is that this problem is not going to be solved by the logic of the legislation. It's going to be solved by force. Not namely the force coming from Armenia on the Azeri side, you know, but maybe for some countries, for some regional powers. Well, because sooner or later it should find a solution, some solution. But I cannot imagine which solution will happen in the reality.
Now, most of the students are from the business and the economic backgrounds. Now, seeing that perspective, don't you think so that the economic factors are really important to create a prosperity for the future? And thereby, right now, it's not moving anywhere ahead. And especially if you remember, even before we started the discussion, we had a very informal discussion on globalization and how has it benefited. Now, seeing that benefits of globalization, has it benefited Armenia or the region? And do you feel economic momentum will happen or will not happen? And how many years do you think that it's going to take?
It could happen.
It could happen.
It could happen. But then again, let's come to today's morning session, to my speech. Well, I think the regionalization nowadays is stronger than globalization. And in our region, I see the competitiveness between three forces. One of them is EU. EU is already formed a regional union. To be a regional union in this world, you need to have a 300 million population. You have to be self-sufficient, at least 300 million. You have to be self-sufficient on mineral resources. You have to have several million square kilometers of territory. You have to have a strong alliance of military alliance of several countries. Look, EU is a regional union. When you are EU, some countries are not in EU. That means that there should be difference between members of EU and between not members of EU. Epistemology of the unions is like this. First of all, you create free trade, and then you have a custom union, and then you have economic union, and then you have a political union, at the end you have a military union. Now, today I was telling to our friends from Europe, guys, you create your region. And then you ask why the war in Ukraine happened. Because Russia came and said, guys, and who said that Ukraine should belong to you? This is what happened. The other, Russia hasn't any regional union because Russia itself is very big by resources, by territory, but it's not big by population. It's not that much big. And in Eurasian Economic Union, you have Armenia, Belarus. They are in Eurasian Economic Union, 88% GDP produced in Russia. Could you imagine union between a country who has 1% and the other one has 99%? No. But that's the choice for us. Armenia decided to join this Eurasian Economic Union, and I think, to my mind, we have to keep the rules established there already. There is a trend to create another regional union, by example, Turan, led by Turkey, already speaking about the one army, especially to Azerbaijan. They used to say that they are one nation but two states. And then it goes to the Central Asia, some territories in Russia, etc., etc. It seems to me that another union was created by Anglo-Saxonic states, United States, Great Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. China would like to create another union, but it is like in case of Russia, but China would like to see Taiwan, which is China. Nobody recognized Taiwan as an independent state. But also North Korea, maybe Philippines, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure, but some other countries. By the way, I think that India could be the leader of another union. India's economic growth is impressive, 8, 9, 10 years per year. And India could have a look in India becoming attracting for Sri Lanka, for Bangladesh, for Nepal, etc., etc. That's another issue. There is a competitiveness in the Arab world between Egypt and Saudi Arabia. They don't know who should be the leader, but you see that Arab worlds, they would like to be create one region. It's not a joke. Arab world, it is something like 4.5, 5 million square kilometers, sufficient on resources, gas and oil. Already today they have a more than $6 trillion GDP. Some of them, 21 Arabic countries, at least 10, they are very rich, very rich. So that's the tendency. Armenia is on the place when there are interests of 3 regions: Europe, Russia, Turkey. Also, you can consider Iran. But you know, Iran, or countries like Iran, South Korea, or Japan, they are free, in brackets, free in brackets. There is no decision for them to join any type of unions. What is going to happen next 10, 20 years? According to my forecast, regionalization will be reinforced. What it means, regionalization? It means that we decline or we stop the globalization. It means that traditional institutions of globalization, they won't work. First of all, WTO. What did Trump in 2018? He put sanctions against Chinese goods and services. Tomorrow it could happen with India. Just like this, we don't want. And there was funny explanation of that, saying that, you know, you are cheating our technology. But when Europe or United States, they pick up or they cheated gunpowder, nobody said nothing, you know. Or who created compass? Or how many things have been created in India? And then they said, you don't like our companies coming to China. What it means, you don't like. But it is clear, the West scared to see countries successful, and they were surprised. When 40 years ago, they declared about the globalization that was done by John Macklin. And now they see that beneficiaries were the countries of the third world. You know, that's the issue.
I think
this is issue. Well, they never expected that based on the principle of the globalization, Chinese economy is going to have more benefit than, for example, the economy of the Western countries. In the global chain now, China is leader. And this is the only country which decreasing its statistic progress. In Armenia, by example, if everything is bad, our government used to say, we have 5% growth, we have 7% growth, economic growth. Sometimes I don't believe it. But China is doing not the same way. They are very modest, they have enough pension, and they are working very hard.
They've shown also an exponential growth.
And nowadays, we see that the same is happening with India.
In fact, just to share you a little bit, since you mentioned about the trade wars, in fact, I always mentioned on stating that the trade was always detrimental because we always say this, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. So it's like when the US does the trade war, China retaliates. Now who are affected? It's the spillover effect that happens down, which affects the whole economy. And just like what I would like to ask is, I would put across that I want to open the platform for you all to ask questions across indeed. But before that, in fact, I also wanted to share up a little bit what you mentioned, that somewhere in what you mentioned right now, it reminds me of the theories of power. And the theories of power is that somewhere down at some point of time, there is a distribution of power. And right now you mentioned regionally the power gets distributed. India is taking power, China is taking power, Iran has power, Russia has power. And thereby somewhere it's helter-skelter, it's not going down. World is not progressing in one direction. So that's something which I could really understand. So I think I would just open down the platform for interactive questions. In fact, Rudolf, would you like to? Yes, Rudolf, please.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Thank you for your visit. I'm very honored to have someone who's been very involved into politics and to shaping the world, specifically because I'm quite fond of the whole Soviet Union. I have a Soviet Union background as well from my great-grandfather, so it's interesting how it all plays out. So my question is, I'm very intrigued on how Armenia is working relationships, because I know in the past the United States was an ally when opening the borders between Azerbaijan and Turkey that had been closed for many years. But then again, the Freedom Party also looks into improving relationships with Russia and with Iran in some way, in China as other way. So my question goes, what do you think, in your perspective, in your very own personal perspective, is the road that a country like Armenia, who, as you say, is placed on a geostrategic position, should play out its cards and should look forward into the world we're looking out after a COVID pandemic, having the war in Russia? What do you think is the best path for Armenia on the upcoming next 10 to 20 years?
Well, generally, thank you for your question. I think, well, so, I'm not a prophet, for next 10, 15 years. If you ask me a year ago, do you see possibility for the war in Ukraine? I would say no. You understand, I know a lot of Russian politicians. Okay. You understand, I have connections with some existing authorities. Believe me, guys, believe me, when I'm visiting Moscow, he said, nobody was saying that. Moreover, last time I was in Moscow, let's say, late autumn of 2021, and all of the, it was the time when West was crying. The war is going to happen. Russia is concentrating troops on the border with Ukraine. I even asked my Russian friends, why you are concentrating troops over there? They said, because Ukraine is concentrating its power, and that's true, in order to eliminate these Donbassy two small republics. But that happened. So in this sense, I don't know what is going to happen. But I do believe the principle for Armenia to be open to all friends. We know that if you ask me, we can have we are having good relations with Iran, with Georgia, but I cannot see the solution with Turkey and Azerbaijan, because just recently, just the day before yesterday, President Erdogan said, don't expect anything from Turkey. Well, on one side he said our relationship should be developed without any conditions. On the other side, they said we accept only solutions which are agreed with Azerbaijan. That was said very apparently during the interview by TV channel. But I would like to see one thing, that Turkey is a big country. I do believe that, they are not going to remove us totally, but that happened. There was a genocide of Armenians in Turkey, recognized more than 40 countries. In fact, all European countries realized. I do believe that we Armenians will be able to have enough pension and at least to have a good relationship with Turkey. That's a key issue for us, and at least to close this historical page of the confrontational, let's say, enemies, of the hating of our people, and also stop such moods within Armenian society. Well, I would like to see Turkey not a leader of a regional union, but to see Turkey as a member of European Union. Just a remark, in Armenia you could not find politicians, except me, saying that we have to welcome that the Turkey will one day be member of EU. To be frank with you, I don't believe it, because nowadays Turkey is trying to be itself to be big power. Why? And don't see any big strifes. Of course, they appeal to be member of Union, but they are not complaining now. They would like to create their own huge economic region. Turkey is not the Turkey which you had 40 years ago when they sent a request to be member of EU. 40 or 35 years ago it was. I met very interesting Turkish leaders, Süleyman Demirel, Tansu Çiller, Mesut Yilmaz, some of them died already, etc., etc. 30 years ago, they had just one dream, to be member of EU. But what happened within these 30 years? A lot of countries among Central Asia, they became powerful. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, their ethnicity, they have the same ethnicity, practically the same language, and they would to create this regional union. Then again, Armenia has to have an open face, to have a good languages with this country. It's not our job to choose or to say them it's not right way to be developed. It's their own choice. And that's the way how I think that's the main principle how we should manage our behavior to the world, to our neighbors.
Thank you very much. And I would just like to follow up with one question, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Seeing that you have lived on these countries which have had a transition and a rebirth, like I know Armenia, I guess on 1991 it was stated as a country after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. How was for you being a part of that whole transition, the Cold War, until what is Armenia now? What have you learned the most, or do you think were the lessons that you got from living through that historic period of time in which you were living right there where the transition of these new countries that were being born happened?
You know what? Among the 15 Soviet republics, Armenia, in terms of economic development and living standard, Armenia was number 7. We were behind Russia, Kazakhstan, Belarus, 3 Baltic states, and Ukraine. We were practically on the same level like Georgia, just a little bit better. We were better than Azerbaijan by all parameters. And we were better than the republics of Central Asia, except Kazakhstan. Today, we are number 9. Then again, 3 Baltic states, Russia, Belarus. But we see that Georgia is with us on the same level. Azerbaijan is a little bit better, 3-5% in terms of GDP per capita, etc., etc. Not so much. Despite that, they have oil, we don't have oil. They have gas, we don't have it. But there are a couple of other countries like Turkmenistan, they are better than Armenia. And we are much more better today than Ukraine, without considering this war. Moldova practically is the same. Practically is the same. Don't think that Armenia is too much poor country, because yes, GDP is $5,000 per capita, but when you took with PPP, it's $15,000. Just for your information, it is $24,000 for Poland, which is located in Europe. It's 21,000 for Russia. And this figure is much more higher than in Moldova or Ukraine, was much more higher. We have the same level practically that just like Bulgaria. So our performance, I'm coming to the final answer, was not very good, but also you cannot define it as very bad. As one of Russian famous economists says, Gaidar said in his famous book, said, to be frank with you, I expected that Armenia will be killed, because among 15 Soviet republics, that was the most difficult, that was the republic with most difficult conditions. But that happened, that not happened. So this is my reaction on your question.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister.
Thank you. Amir, you want to ask a question? Okay. So I think, Aziz, yes, Aziz.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister.
Hello.
Thank you very much for being here. My name is Aziz, and I happen to be from the Arab world as well. During your discussion, you had something like very important. You said the regionalization and the unity in the Arab world is not happening. Given that they have the same culture, the same background, the same language, the same also religion, but the regionalization, as you described it, and the unity is not happening so far. What do you think that is? Do you think there's like essential reason for the unity not happening so far?
You know, nowadays, there are 3 or 4 superpowers: United States, European Union, China. Russia strives to be superpower. In fact, it isn't. You're from Arab countries?
Yeah.
You said. Very complicated issue is Arab world, you know.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
Yeah.
They cannot to be united. It's a very complicated nation. Arab is an event.
Yeah.
They have 21 states. How much divided there are, that shows.
So much divided.
But on the other hand, if there is a tendency of regionalization in the world, Arab people could recognize that, look, it's not bad, this regionalization. Let's do something. You cannot avoid the tendency. In terms how much fast it could happen. In terms of the speed of the process, well, I wouldn't take the risk to react or to announce concrete figures or terms. But I think it's going to happen.
But it's very complicated, Mr. Prime Minister. It's just like the elements for unity there is very overwhelming, and that's not happening. It means like there's something happening behind the scene that only, I would say, politicians know what's going on. That's why I was like looking for your, insights about the subject, because they are culture-wise, I mean like traditional-wise, language-wise, and also religion-wise, they are really similar. And yet some Arab countries imposed even visa on other Arab countries, talking about the, Arab unity and stuff.
So, okay, I understand you.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is not enough to escape the process. It's not enough. The countries are different, sure. countries are different, they should be different, but they are showing regional interests.
Okay.
This is the base of regionalization.
I think today you have come down, in fact, I think in the morning you participated with the peace forum, which you've been there inside. Now, what do you expect across? At this point, Europe needs to take a strong stand in promoting the peace, especially in the region of Ukraine and Russia. Should they be more strong voice, and at the same time inside Armenia and in the region, do you expect a much more of a soft diplomacy which needs to be pushed inside? Where do you see this?
Yes, I expect much more diplomacy. I do hope that they won't burn the old bridges with Russia. They have to give a chance to Russians. Who is sacrificing? Ukrainian population. It's very easy to say, oh, we put all possible sanctions. In 2 or 3 years, Russia will become very weak, etc., etc., you know. But what is going to happen within these 2-3 years? Did you think about this population in the eastern part of Ukraine? They said that Zelensky is hero. Of course, he is fighting that. You can be admired, even me. But what will be the end? Now, the only chance for Russia is to occupy much more bigger territory in order to bargain that with sanctions. It's so clear. But what it means to occupy more territory, you know, is hundreds of thousands of people killed.
Yes, because right now it leads to an economic destruction, it leads to a migration crisis. Now all these things are now going to increase the challenges even more further. And the more the war is going to prolong, the more the migration challenge is going to increase.
Yeah.
And thereby at some point of time there has to be a leadership which has to come inside, put all together and then proceed with a peace which has
Yes.
to be down there.
Yes.
And now, like, since if I may ask you down, have you, I think in this visit that you have engaged with Europe, are you also looking forward with German government to support down with a financial package or with an economic package with Armenia?
You know, we have a big trade with the Germany. Sometimes our total trade with Europe is $1 billion. Out of them, something like 400 million is with Germany. Oh, and I can tell you that we are export too much softwares. For example, Ukraine and Armenia, they are very strong on software, like in India.
Yes, Kyiv, in fact, Kyiv was growing very strong in
Our
the software
exportation of
industry,
software
very
last year was $500 million, and a lot of orders from Germany. Europe is doing too much for Armenia in order for the economic assistance, infrastructure, etc., etc. Well, and we realize that Germany is playing a key role. I don't know if you are aware there is such type of organization, KWF, you know, which is very famous German organization working actively in Armenia. In terms of tourism, we have this year we have a blooming tourism. You know, tourists coming from Europe, especially from Germany to Armenia, to discover this country. Yes, we have to recognize that. By the way, we are in integration, in association agreement with EU. We said we cannot be member of EU, but still we have special regime, and we are implementing European-oriented legislation in our real juridical system. So My behavior to that is very, very positive.
Rosie? Yes, Rosie. Suleiman, you want to ask? Okay. Suleiman, you may ask. If you have a question, you can ask, and then okay. Yes, bless.
Yeah, thank you, Prime Minister. My name is Blessing. I come from Zimbabwe. It's in the southern part of Africa. I developed keen interest in Armenia, and I would like to know the opportunities available in Armenia for students like us who are here at BSPI, who would possibly want to look at opportunities to move over to Armenia.
In fact, just to share a little bit about Blessing, Blessing is a very, he's an entrepreneurship-oriented person. And I think if I may add his question, in fact, like how are the opportunities, especially in Armenia, in terms of economic, for example, investors, and in terms of business perspectives?
Oh, in Armenia, in terms of education, you have good opportunities, believe me. Here is my doctor, Maria.
Maria has been the pioneer for organizing this event, yes.
So she finished her education in Yerevan in American University. And there is another university, you will be surprised. I'm working for a Slavic university. The name is Russian Armenian University. New one, just 15 years. I can tell you, this is the number one in Yerevan, even better than the American University. That I can tell you that by the rating, I remember the figure, last year, 2021, we have got 20 balls, 20 units. Yerevan State University, just 7. And they are jealous to us. Does the state university, tries to assist them, etc., etc. And I can tell you, our economic education is very good one. Very good one. You don't have a problem. Or the medicine. In medicine, we have a couple of thousand students from Arab world, from India, even from Africa. This university is the best in South Caucasus. Is the best. And you have only 2 universities in Russia having better points than this one. I can tell you that the education is not better in Armenia. Look through the Armenian boys and girls coming to Europe, etc., etc. Usually they are overcoming all the problems, then finding a job or going back to Armenia. In terms of medicine, well, just I can tell you that you can find hundreds, if not thousands, of Indian specialists working in India. And they are making money on that. It's not, on one hand, it's not very, very cheap, but it's not expensive. It's cheaper than in Europe, maybe 2 times. Maybe 2 times. But they're happy. A lot of Iranians, especially specialized on the economics, are working in the economy of Iran, having some positions. I had a lot of students of Iranian students. They were happy, and they are sending me mails, writing some letters, saying thank you, etc., etc.
So maybe to ask a related question, because you have answered a part of the question that I had. Assuming a student like me who is finishing sometime in December, I've been studying innovation and entrepreneurship. How easy is it to invest or to identify investment opportunities in Armenia? And if I am to move over, I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of my other colleagues as well who are also finishing. How easy is it to invest there and also to find investment opportunities in Armenia?
I don't know the answer to your question. I just don't know. If you want, give me or to my doctor your details, card, etc., etc. When I will go back, I will ask, what is the way if somebody would like to come to Armenia for education? I don't know this.
Yeah, he's looking for investments.
Investment,
Investor,
okay.
as
How-
an investor,
what
because
is
like
to-
he's an
I don't know
entrepreneur.
this question. I'm not a business. I'm just a professor at the university. I don't have my own business there.
So,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
I don't know that.
Sulaiman. Sulaiman, yeah.
Hello, Professor Hyun and Professor Vivek. We're happy to see both of you here. So I would like to start with the question of the conflict between the Armenia and Azerbaijan. So you started very well, and I would like to also talk about the conflict that started in 1992 with the problem of Khojaly. Before starting the discussion between two, I just listened to your talks, and you say the word Azeri, but there is no word Azeri called. So it's Azerbaijani Turkish, like Azeri Turks called. And the second question is, you use the word the Azerbaijanis use the help of the Turkey and the Pakistan, which is the I think like it's the correct because we use the PUAS from the Turkeys, but Armenia also used the help of the Iran in the border of Armenia and the Iran. So that's my second question: is that the correct in the news? Because like in BBC, in Euronews, all talks about only the help of the Turkey to the Azerbaijan, and you said Armenia was in the 7th place in Soviet Union, like in the ranking. I mean, the Azerbaijan in the past, in the 8th or the 9th place, I think, after the Armenia. But if we take the population of Azerbaijan is more than the 10 million, and the Armenia is more than the 3 million. But the unemployment rate is for the Armenia is 20%, but for the Azerbaijan is the 5.6%, and the GDP per capita is for Azerbaijan is already almost $6,000, but for Armenia is around $4,000. So I would like to happy to listen to you in these sections.
Let's start with your last question. Yeah. First of all, in Soviet Union, we didn't have a figure like GDP. We have an understanding of national income. In 1989, that was the last year of the Soviet Union. National income per capita, I'm speaking per capita figure, per capita, you know? Don't compare Armenia with Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is much more bigger than Armenia. Per capita, national income in Armenia was 2,790 rubles. In Georgia, 2,710 rubles. In Azerbaijan, 2,450 rubles. They were close, but these are the figures. Second, you said nowadays 4,000 and 6,000. No. Let's correct the figures. I recognize that nowadays the figure of Azerbaijan per capita GDP is not national income, it is GDP. It's higher. Which is the figure according to the World Bank database? According to the World Bank data, there are two databases, World Bank and the IMF. World Bank database says that Armenian GDP per capita today is last year, 2021. We don't have figures for 2022. We will have these figures in 1 year from now. $4,800. Georgia, $5,102. Azerbaijan, $5,240. You go worldbank.org, worldbank.org. You open the site. You saw to the figure, to the icon, database. You can open it. Database per country, indicators per country. You open the file economy and growth, and then you open the file GDP per capita. There is another figure for GDP by the World Bank, including PPP. By PPP figure, Armenia has per capita GDP $15,000, Georgia 15,500, Azerbaijan 17,900. So there is a difference, I recognize it, but it's not that much like you said. Not that much.
And I think, Suleiman, I think if I'm just adding to your question, there was also one more question which he put down. He said that I think Azerbaijan was supported in the war by Turkey, Pakistan, and at the same time, did Iran also support Armenia during that period of the war?
First of all, there was no any, even one Iranian soldier fighting for us. If there was a case, if you have facts, show. Azerbaijan really was supported by Turkey because the main role in this war played these Bayraktars supplied by Turkey. Yeah. Also, among our, well, Maria, Gary once says, I forget the word. Host.
Yeah.
Among captures,
hostages,
we have got
hostages.
we have got a couple of Turkish citizens.
Okay.
But the main support, Suleiman, was military support. Turks built for you an army for 21st century. It was very modern army. It's fact. Did you see any Iranian weapon used by Armenia? No. We were using only Russian weapons, and you were using Russian weapons also. Yes. Also, you have been supported by Israel. Because Israel would like all the time to protect you, considering Azerbaijan as a potential enemy to Iran. Because Israel says that Iran is main enemy for us.
I think somewhere down, economic destruction has destructed both the countries in the war. So that's the thing that as we learn, economic destruction has happened to both Azerbaijan and Armenia due to the war which has happened.
Yeah, destruction.
Destruction has been more, self-destruction has happened.
Armenians say that they are distracting more. They say that we are distracting.
So it's the fingers are pointing, but at the same time
doesn't
it's led
matter.
to a
It is bad.
self-destruction.
And
Yes.
in this case, it doesn't matter to measure this,
Yeah.
how bad it is.
It's more
You know,
like both of them are being
It is
bad.
tragedy, and that's it, that's all.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, I think Rosie.
Hi, I'm Rosie. I'm from MBA student, and I have a question. Regarding Armenia, you were talking about being part of the UE or some coalition in economics with another countries, like could be Georgia. Do you see some kind of forecast in the coming years or in a long future?
So you mean Georgia what?
Armenia, first of all, becoming part of the UE or with another countries?
Look, Armenia, and by the way, Azerbaijan also, and also Belarus, 6 countries, starting from 2009, started to develop neighborhood policy with EU. The aim of the policy was that these 6 countries are going to join EU. In 2014, the time of association agreement to be signed came. It was signed by Georgia, it was signed by Moldova, and also Ukraine proposed to sign it. The government, under the Mr. Yanukovych leadership, decided do not sign. And the signature process was considered, the place was decided Riga, which is capital of Latvia. Yeah? And revolution started in Ukraine. They remove this regime of Yanukovych, and in this case, Russians living in Crimea and in Donbass area said, well, we are not in agreement. Why we should be in EU? We are Russians. We would like to be in Russia. You see what happened there? And there was a referendum on independence in Crimea, and Russia said, as far as they are independent, they can join our country. Maybe this late decision was not the best case, but the problem comes when you put the question, Europe or Russia. Yes, mainly Ukrainians said Europe, but there are still tremendous amount of Ukrainians saying that no, it should be Russia. That's why we have there what we have. Armenia. Among 6 countries, the best performance had Armenians. Europe recognized that Armenian legislation nowadays in 2014 is very close to Europe. If they are candidates to sign the association agreement, first of all, you are signing association agreement. Then you are getting the candidate to be a member of the European Union. And then you are included into the European Union. This is the Maastricht process. Maastricht decided the principles decided in Maastricht. And you see what happened. There was a pressure on the Russian side. Guys, you won't go to Europe, but look what happened with Georgia in 2008. It is not the case that you are just going there, because it's going to have military consequences. As far as you are going to be member of EU, very soon you will become member of NATO. It means that you will be my enemy. But I have your interest in your countries. All energy sector today in Armenia belongs to Russia. Look what happened with Georgia. And Armenian president started to think. And first of all, he asked Europe, if we are going to join with you, are you able to neutralize the threat, an economic threat, first of all, coming from Russia? They said no. For a small country, we are not Ukraine. For a small country, it's very difficult to take a decision. Well, now this Moldova is going to be the member, became a candidate of European Union. It's going to be Moldova. Believe me, it's possible. But believe me, they will lose a part of their territory. Left upper, there is a small region called Dnestr region. They will lose it. Why? Because this region, in 1939, was given under the control of Moldova, like Crimea was given to the Ukraine. You believe that, you like that, or you don't like it, it is what it is.
Thank you for your words, and it's a pleasure having you today here.
Thank you.
I think, Lena, you want to ask something, Lena? Yes.
Good afternoon. So my name is Elena, and I'm from Ukraine. And
You're from Ukraine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend is also from
Daniel is
Ukraine,
also
from
there.
Donetsk,
Yeah.
basically.
So I think Daniel
And
is-
I'm from Kiev, and originally I live, my hometown is on the border with Moldova. So my question is that you mentioned that in 2014, after or before referendum, there were and still are a tremendous quantity of Ukrainians who desire to live in Russia, and especially in Crimea. But as far as I know, in Crimea, the referendum in Crimea in 2014 was fake. It is not recognized by the whole world. So only Russia actually recognized that referendum. And what I'm curious, why do you assume that there are a lot of people in Ukraine want to live in Russia? Because no one basically ran to Russia. And even now, even when corridors to Russia are opened and people can't leave occupied territories to go to Europe, but they can go to Russia straight away, they don't go. Or they go to Russia and then go do the cycle to go to Poland. So for me it's a little bit, of course I understand, for me it's a little bit pain topic, but I just want to know why do we still have this point of view about that Ukrainians want to be a part of Russia, as we actually decided not to be. Thank
Decided
you.
what?
Not
Why?
to be, not to be in Russia.
Why is
Crimea must to be in Russia?
No,
Ukraine.
we decided, I mean Ukrainians decided not to be in Russia.
Yeah. Okay.
So why-
Ukrainians decided not to be a part of Russia?
Well, it's
And,
clear. It's
yes.
clear. Because you have opportunity, being a member of EU, to input in your country EU standards.
Yeah, I know.
In terms of living standards, which are higher than the standards existing in Russia. But before that, until 2014, you were going to work in Russia. Main transfers were coming into Ukraine from Russia, $7-8 billion each year. For example, in Siberia, Ukrainians were very famous as a good construction specialists. He said, in Siberia you were working. In these companies, oil, gas, a lot of Ukrainians, huge amount of Ukrainians. As it comes to the referendum, the quality of referendum in Crimea, well, Ukraine used to say that it was under pressure. You know, I know Ukraine very well. Maybe it was under pressure. Even they say that Zelenie Chelavechki.
Yeah.
They said like this, yeah? They were, yes, they were there, it's a fact. But to be frank with you, even today, if there will be another referendum in Crimea, then again, let's look to the truth with the open eyes. 65% of Crimea are Russians. It is fact. You know, the result of referendum was 96% pro. Even most of Ukrainians voted for, it means that voted for Russia. Today the figure will be less, so it means will be more in favor of Ukraine. But then again, you understand that, you know, these people, they voted for Russia.
Maybe.
So
If it's
yes.
like, but I'm not a politician, so I don't know many things. But what I know from news, from Ukrainian media sphere, that this referendum, as well as referendum in Donetsk and Luhansk republics, were fake. So no other countries supported it. No one controlled how it was held, because yes, we had Yanukovych, who didn't care about Ukraine going to European Union. So my question actually was, why still world think that Ukrainians, a tremendous quantity of Ukrainians, want to go to Russia, as they don't want. And it was made for us, but we didn't ask it. And the same that was in 2014, when Luhansk and Donetsk was occupied by Russians, but a lot of people escaped from there because they didn't want to be part of Russia. So it wasn't.
Yes, I know. I agree with that. I agree with that. What is the problem? I agree with that.
Yeah,
The only issue, you are saying that that was a fake referendum, but it's your definition. In 2014, it was, let me say, it was March or February 2014, I was there. Maybe today, as far as they have a choice to be in Europe, some inhabitants of Crimea, they will decide to take another decision. I don't know. And even I don't understand why there were some Russian soldiers, Zeleny Chelavechki, why they put them there. I don't know why. Because for me, it was so clear that mostly they are going to vote for independence for Russia. Which is a problem here. In fact, people, they have right to vote, to be independent, do not be independent. On the international law, it is self-determination. The problem is the other one. Russia, after that, decided to include Crimea into the Russian Federation. That's an issue which could be and should be disputed. But the referendum votes a right. If Crimea declares that they would like to be independent state, I can understand that. That I can understand. Here is the problem. As I said, that's what's the problem.
So I think if you're getting the things which is there, you mentioning down stating that the two regions have been governed by a fake government. That's what you mean to state. And he means to state that what we go by is something which is on the papers. So on the papers, whatever be there, though it could be something which is on the back side, though on the papers, this is how it has been there down. So that's where it's been discussed. And I think if we just proceed ahead, there was a question from, yes, please proceed.
Should I go there?
Yeah, I think the camera is focusing. Yes.
Hello, Prime Minister.
Yeah.
My name is Mershi and I'm from India. So recently, everyone knows that India purchased a large amount of oil from Russia. So
Large amount of what?
Oil from Russia.
Yeah.
India purchased a large amount of oil from Russia. And I have been heard that some news channels were saying that like India is, helping to fund this war and everything like that. So what are your personal views on this?
What are my what?
Your views on it, political views.
His question is that during the war, since the sanction was on, since the sanction has been put down, many countries have purchased, few countries have purchased oil from Russia, which includes China, which includes India. So what is your perspective on this? Since the sanction is there and then like since the countries
Look, guys,
oil.
the problem for Russia, economic problem, is not oil and gas. They will find, and they already find, other consumers. As you know, recently Russia said, you put sanctions on my gas supply, but you didn't ask me because I want to supply, I will not supply any more gas to Europe. And in Europe, people were like this, oh my God, what we are going to do this winter. And Russia declared that it's selling oil and gas by rubles, which means big negative pressure on dollar. And for India and for China, I will sell the oil and gas with the 10%
discount.
Huh?
Like it was on a discounted rate.
There was a very low
prices.
rate which they gave at a very low price.
And what happened within 5 months of the years? In terms of dollars, Russia didn't earn dollars, they earned another monies. But Russia earned within 5 months of this year 5.5 times more currency, more earnings than within previous year. That means that the sanctions on the supply of Russian gas and oil, they doesn't work. But what is working, and it will be step by step reinforced, this is the wall against technologies. Russians are not able to produce cars, are not able to produce planes, and some other products. That's step by step, in 6 months from now, in a year, in 2 years, could harm the Russian economy. In fact, after all these sanctions, Russian economy will be reduced this year by 5 or 6%. Next year, they are expecting economic growth. In the West, in the Germany, the perspective for the economic growth will be something like 1.5, 2%. They were at the beginning of they were expecting 4 or 5. But next day, the economic growth in Germany will be 0.51, because Europe is going to suffer of the absence of the Russian energy resources. Europe will have some energy resources, but they will pay much more expensive price. So, and the same with the United States. So the problem of sanctions for Russia is not gas, it's not oil, it's not fertilizer or grain. The problem is technology. technologically, Russia will be isolated. But the consequences of that, we will see in 2, 3, 4 years. And for me, there is a question. Okay, guys, what you are going to do with Ukraine? By the way, the economic decline in Ukraine is expected 40% or 50%. What you are going to see in Ukraine? More people sacrificing, hundreds of millions killed. That's the issue.
Which has to be immediately addressed and stopped.
My point of view is that it has to be immediately stopped. If the price for that are sanctions to get back, you have to do that. For the population, for the kids. They're dying.
True.
Oh, we can say, oh, look, we harmed the economy of the Russia, so what? We are happy with that. That's the problem. Today we were discussing that.
There has to be instant stop to the war. That's something which has to be there. And though the West is trying everything possible, like sanctions, the West is also taking a matured role of not engaging inside a war. So that's also one of the things, because at some point of time, if it doesn't happen, it's just
I forget to answer.
ahead.
I had a look. Khojali. I forget to answer to Khojali. My friend, on that time I was not Prime Minister. I was in Karabakh, you know. Just have a look to the interview of Mr. Mutalibov to the Komsomolskaya Pravda. It is dated 9th of March 1992. When he said he blamed National Front of Azerbaijan because he said Armenians gave them the corridor, but they closed the corridor. But I'm a person in Armenia. If we need for the international investigation, we are ready for that. But also you have to recognize genocide of Armenians before that in Sumgait and Baku. But you know, in order to clear that, if I will be Prime Minister of Armenia, I will agree in agreement with that for the international investigation, including Sumgait and Baku. Before that, 1989. January and February 1989. Yeah, Sumgait is February 1988 and Baku 1989. Yeah.
So I think Mohammad Vijay, yeah. Yes, yes.
Hello, Prime Minister. Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
your
yeah,
time with
yeah.
us. Myself Vijay and I'm from India.
Yeah.
And I just have a question from a broader business as well as political perspective. Today we are just addressing two major issues. One is global warming and second is sustainability, resource depletion. And this is having a direct impact on the business environment on a global level, as well as it's going to be for sure a reason for political instability at national as well as international level, more wars possibly. And a lot of efforts has been taken by developed countries toward it, and I was luckily part of two such projects, 2012 Germany GIZ project in Bangladesh, and secondly UNDP project funded by Australian government in India in 2016. So I was a part of a team working at a ground level. So I didn't found that despite of a lot of resources as well as funds being put into it, but it was not that effective. So I just want your comment onto it, whether the efforts as on date taken by developed countries are sufficient to address these issues, and the roles of developed, underdeveloped and developing countries to address these issues.
You mean the issue of the environment?
Environment as well as sustainable development in future. We are just on a verge of technological development. We are using resources, and for sure wars in future will be around these two issues.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
There is a big problem. The only problem which I don't see solution is environment. Nowadays, 45–50% of the world's economic growth made by two countries, India and China. Your economic growth in terms of energy consumption is 2 times worse than an economic growth in Armenia. For your growth, you consume resources, especially energy resources. That's the problem. Imagine India and China, people, and compare that with Netherlands. People are having houses like you have in Netherlands, gardens, etc., etc. What is will be the price for the world? What will be the environment? What big will be the environmental problem? Look, when economy in the Switzerland is growing by 1%, they just need 0.1% more energy resources. But when economy in India is growing by 1%, you just need 0.55% of energy. Half of your growth is energy. The same situation we have in China. This is energy consuming growth. Of course, you do a lot with green energy, etc., but guys, when we are talking about the green energy, it is just 11% of the electricity production in the world as of today. There are a couple of countries like Norway or Germany doing well, but in China you have 8%, in India you have 3 or 4%, etc., etc. You have nothing, Mainly the growth is in the energy sectors is connected with oil and gas, using oil and gas or nuclear. I don't know the answer to your question. The first approach for me is to limit the living standard. We are living too good, I was in China. I see cities when everybody was a millionaire. Cities.
And
more than 1 million.
Growth has been, and inclusive growth has been there. However,
Growth.
the inclusive growth has also cost a huge.
And now is India, which is next year in 2023, that will be most populated country in the world, bigger than China.
Sure.
Bigger than China. Of course, can we grow without harming the system, equilibrium in this planet? This is one planet. We don't have another planet. Moreover, I have another question. In Switzerland or in Norway, they don't know what to do with the money. But in Africa, in a part of India, more than 1 billion people, they have a problem to have food. How? Well, and according to Paul Krugman, very good economist, Nobel Prize winner. Paul Krugman was the main advisor to the Bill Clinton government.
Paul Krugman is,
very good intellectual, Well, something like half of Nobel Prize winners in economy, they did nothing, and then practice shows that it's a wrong theory. But this one was a very intellectual. Please, if you can find the possibility, read Paul Krugman, who said, if the world is not regulating this distribution of incomes between different parts of society, it's better to stop such a growth. He says it's going to be catastrophe. Well, we will see what is happening. My expectations are too bad. It's not just bad, too bad.
I think as we just move ahead with it, yes. The last few questions, are there any? Saina has got, okay, yes.
Okay.
Next is.
Yeah, my name is Sandeep, and I'm very happy to got a chance to interact with you. My question is that even Armenia share their border with the UN as well as the Asia also. So because European nations, they are rapidly growing their economy, and even a few countries of the Asia, they are also growing rapidly. So I want to know about the Armenia, what they learned from these two European nation in Asia. And another question is that what the Armenia is doing for the small investor in their own country.
So,
Armenia is trying to find the areas in the economy which are full of added value. We don't have oil, we don't have gas. But I don't know, it's a happiness or it's a tragedy to have such resources, because one day they will be finished also. That's why Armenia is concentrated its attention on the added value. Well, believe me, we are doing well. This part, look, what our good neighbor Azerbaijan, well, they have everything, but you know, there is no big difference. We have the same level of salaries, practically the same. Already 20 years.
I have another question, that because in 2013 I have been to the Azerbaijan. So when I interact with the people of the Azerbaijan, then that they were saying that no, we don't want to just talk about the Armenia, because they think that Armenia is their they treat Armenia as their enemy. So what is the reason behind it? The people of there, they just treat you as a enemy. It is a political reason, or it is the social reason, or it is cultural, or is the economic reason?
I think let me take this question, because since it's getting a little political, let me take this reason. India and Pakistan, right? Russia and Ukraine, Israel, Palestine.
Yeah.
Okay, you take any country, Iran and Saudi Arabia, you take any country, the regions for any kinds of differences is not between people, right? These are certain things which are more on political affairs, political relationships, history misinterpreted, or like something which has been shared across since years and years. However, what it leads to is a destruction on both the sides. So people who hate somebody do not know why they hate somebody. But just that, if you notice, it's been coming down historically with something which they believe that is right, and they carry across. What it leads to is the same thing that you mentioned, which is nothing but an economic destruction.
Yeah.
And an economic destruction affects the prosperity of people for the future generations. And I think that is what he had put across.
Yeah, but the behavior to Armenians, to Azerbaijan, I think will be the same, but a little bit more soft.
Yeah.
We don't hate them such. No, I saw the propaganda. By example, they used to say that this Armenian state is fake.
No.
This is the oldest state in the region, older than Georgia. Because when people started to come from Africa, humanity started 100 years ago.
Yeah.
They came to Egypt. That means that Egypt is much more older than, let's say, Palestine or Israel. After Egypt, they came to the Palestine. That Israel, Egypt is older than Israel. And the part of them went to the India, and the other part went to the left. But in order to left this region, you have to cross Armenian mountain chain, you know. Something that means that Armenians were in fact older than Greek people. That was a whispering process of humanity. And the economic civilization of people counted only 11,000 years.
Yeah.
11,000. But anyway, they don't like us, we don't like them. But this is a task, how to change it. How to change it. If they think that one day they can eliminate, to kill all Armenians, believe me, Armenians will find a way to react on that, to stop it.
However,
one day, the understanding that, let's say, we are neighbors.
However, like at the end of the day,
we are neighbors, you know. It's not a building. When you have apartment and you have a better relationship with your neighbor, you can change your apartment. But the fatherland is not an apartment. You cannot change it.
Yeah, definitely.
destructions always lead to more destructions,
yeah.
and hate always leads to
very
more
easy to hate, very easy to destroy.
Yeah.
Very easy. And as you see, both of them are not in the best conditions in terms of economy.
Yeah, I think yes.
So I am Adarsh, and I am doing MA Hospitality Tourism Event Management. As everyone is talking about one world, one nation, and as you spoke about regional unions in future, you gave the forecast like there would be regional unions. So I would like to know what will the change be? Like, there is a war in every 10 or 20 years in this world. What will a change be if there would be a regional unions in different places?
Sir, thank you for your question. First of all, I think what I said about regional unions is fake. I hope it's not going to happen. But I'm afraid that there is a bad tendency there. Just afraid. what is going to in the regional union. In the global world, mainly the principle of cooperation is working. I'm afraid that in regional union, the principle of domination will be most ruling principle. You know, so my expectations are not so good. I would like, as a representative of a small nation, I would like to be son of the world rather the son of the region.
I think we'll have
Thank you so much.
three
It was
quick-
pleasure to
quick
talk to you.
questions. I think there are a couple of questions, and then with Saina we can just like, if there is no other question, we can just finish it off. Yes. So I think, is there, Maria, if you can always stop me, let me know. Okay, we can perhaps. We can just have a couple of questions, and then I think, because prior commitments have been there. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Hrant. My name is Srishti. I am a student of MA in Innovation and Entrepreneurship.
A little bit louder, please.
Yeah.
Yes, Rishti.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah.
Yes.
So recently, Armenia calls on UN to restore neutrality in Nagorno-Karabakh region, whereas
Where?
In 22, like March 22, and the thing is, Russia held the upper deadlocks of Nagorno region. How do you see this incident will like have an influence on these calls where Armenia like wants to like neutralize the situation?
Neutralize the situation in terms of what?
Like freedom, actions, everybody has their own rights to express themselves.
Armenia, I will consider. Yeah, there is a classification of the. I don't remember. Democratic Forum of the World is or Freedom Institution. Armenia, in terms of democracy, is considered as, I don't remember exactly, they have 4 categories: democratic, free democratic, democracy with some restrictions, mainly democratic, and autocratic regimes. Armenia is on the range of on the second stage of the countries. It is mainly democratic country. It is not like Western countries, 100% pure democracy, but Armenia is a democratic country. It's a parliamentary country.
Yes, Francis.
Well, you can go. You can say what you want to say. You are free to organize demonstrations. You don't need licenses of the government, etc., etc. Well, that's there. But when the terms of elections is coming, you can see fakes, frauds, everything.
Okay, good evening, Professor. My name is Francesca, and I'm from Zimbabwe, studying global MBA. So my question is more linked to the business and the economical side. You said a very interesting topic with regards to the gas reduction, Russia reducing gas in Europe. So I wanted to ask that, how is that going? Okay, you said something that it's not only going to affect Russia, it will affect Europe. So my question is, with regards to, of course, price increase and everything, which is leading to inflation, you said something about we need to, did you say, sorry, can I please get you clearly that, did you say that we need to not put sanctions on Russia, because then this is affecting not just Russia, but it's also affecting EU, like Europe as a whole, or you're supporting the idea of putting sanctions? But now what is the way forward if now Russia continues with the act of reducing gas with regards to the economic situation, which will also lead to business production a little bit lowering, because now investors have just no idea where the European economic is headed? Thank you.
First of all, Armenia is benefiting from the conflict in Ukraine, because we have got 100,000 immigrants. Out of them, 82,000 from Russia, something like 10,000, 8,000 from Ukraine, especially specialists in they are very, very strong on the
eastern side.
Huh?
Eastern side.
Ukraine is very strong on software.
Software, yes.
Yeah, they are one of the leaders in the world. they have millions, but some of them came to Armenia, you know, and also from Belarus. They're also strong on that. So economic growth for the 6 months in Armenia made 12% this year. We are not losing. But in any way, I don't think that's a solution. I don't think that, well, the world was putting sanctions on Russia. They said, oh, they are going to die. No, it not happened. Moreover, they are saying that next year they are going to have economic growth. But I saw the tragedy, what is going on in Ukraine, you know, it should stop. I can tell you, I don't know the solution, but I know one thing. These sanctions, what was implemented during, and other decisions implemented during last 5 months, they doesn't work. It's wrong way. What is the right way? I don't know. I have some opinion, but it's very complicated issue.
So, Saina, yes. Yes, pass me. Francis.
Hello.
Hello.
It's an honor to be able to talk to you in person, first of all. Thank you for your time. As an Iranian, my question will be regarding the relations between Iran and Armenia. How do you see the changes after the revolution we had and now and in the future? What's your perspective? The second question would be about the relationships between Turkey and Armenia. You mentioned that you want to have a more peaceful relationships with Turkey, but actually I happened to be in Armenia about a year ago during this genocide's anniversary, and we talked to people, so people were not like peaceful, and they felt animosity against Turkish people more than Azerbaijan. So how do you plan to fix this? Thank you.
First, Armenia and Iran. We have good relationship. By the way, this good relationship with Iran shows that we are not against Muslims. Our problem with Turkey or Azerbaijan is ethnic problem. It's not religion. Because Iran is Muslim country. But we have very good relationship. Very, very good. During last 30 years, we haven't seen any conflict with Iranian people in Armenia or in Iran. A lot of Iranians are coming now in Yerevan during this fest, Ramadan, etc., to spend their holidays in Yerevan. A lot of, and they are happy with that. Just these days, there was some religional fest in Iran. You can see a lot of thousands of Iranians in Yerevan. With Turks, I don't think that we hate Turks. But you know, it's fact. I know each Armenian I know what happened with my grandparents. There was a genocide. This peninsula of Turkey, named Anatolia, was inhabited by two nations. Eastern part, but Armenians. Western part, but Greek people. Both of them have been killed. You know, the Trapezun, Izmir, etc., that was inhabited Greek cities, or the region of Kars, Van. It's not me. 42 countries recognize the genocide as the first genocide of the 20th century. Why that happened? We cannot blame the people. Why you have been killed? We have to blame the killer. Armenians would like to see Turkey recognizing that, but it's not a condition. We are developing our relationship with Turkey even without the demand to recognize the genocide. Mr. Erdogan, each year, 24th of April, is addressing to Armenian people, saying that something bad happened in 1915. He is not using the word of genocide. But each year, last 5 years, we had an appeal of address of Mr. Erdogan to the Armenian people. He is saying that, but nowadays 100,000 Armenians are living in Turkey. There is no problem. Today, maybe not. But we would like to see the system. And the big part of the system is that recognize what you did. Because we would like to be calm. It's not going to repeat it, you know.
However, sir, I think if I may just ask you this question, don't you think so that at some point of time, definitely when we recall the history, there is always a hurt. When we recall the history and the historical moments which happened, there is always a hurt. However, don't you think so that when we constantly recall the history, it is not letting us to move forward as well? Don't you think so that it's there? So,
but we are trying to manage the problem wisely. We are not saying Turks that recognize it. We are ready to develop relationship. We are ready.
And if we need to develop
but you cannot ask me, forget about the recognition.
Yes, that is where like what I'm putting across is, if we really need to develop the relationship, we need to forget and move out of the...
Of course.
Though it has been a hurt.
Nowadays we create a commission which works with the Turkish government commission, and we are not asking to recognize our officially on the state level. But believe me, 1.7 million people have been killed.
Yes.
They had houses there. They had everything.
This was in the year 1990.
And they went, you know, we have 2.2 million, 1.7 was killed, and 500,000, they create Armenian diaspora. We have Armenians in Ukraine, we have Armenians in Russia, we have Armenians here in Germany, we have Armenians in France. Why we have that? Because of genocide.
However,
the survivors, they went to the different countries. We have Armenians in Arab world, in Egypt, everywhere, you know, everywhere.
However, don't you think so that what is the future ahead, right?
What I can do, when somebody in the United States said, my father owned 10 hectares of land, give it me back. When Turkish authorities are asking, I was cooperating with Süleyman Demirel, Yilmaz, Tansu Çiller, very phenomenal authorities in Turkey. They said, what we should do? I said, but okay, what is your expectation? Your expectation is I'm going to close his mouth. I won't do that. But Armenia as a state recognizes territorial integrity of Turkey. Armenia recognizes even territorial integration with Azerbaijan, saying that, but within you have a region which would like to be self-determined. That's your problem. Let's solve it. We are not saying that we are asking land back. It was our homeland. Have you heard about Urartu state? Urartu, one of the ancient, very famous states. Urartu is Urarat. We are not asking Urartu back. When you go to the Roma, in Colosseum, you see the old map coming from the 4th century before the Christ, and there are 3 states over there: Roman Empire, Armenia, and Persia. 4th century before Christ. We are not asking these territories back. By the way, these territories right now are not inhabited by Turks. Mainly, these are inhabited by Kurds. You know? Because starting from 16th century, Selim decided to bring Kurds into the region in order, he was afraid that Armenians are going to fight for the independence. So it's not our policy. But don't ask me to forget about that. Do not explain to my doctor what happened. Don't ask me that.
So I think like if we just like almost come to an end of the session, there is Ms. Tessin Majid who's just put this question online, because the session is also online. It's also the participants there. I think she's put down stating that it's more like a statement. I'm from Pakistan, and my question is, if Germany changes its security policy as the discussion is going on due to the Ukraine war, it will be great challenge for world peace. I think she's mentioned down stating that world peace is more important, and somewhere down Germany also needs to change its security policy. So I think with this, if there are no other questions, we can just end this discussion. However, as I just end this discussion, I think I need to thank you down because of the reason that
Thank you,
you
sir.
took your time down.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank
I
you.
really thank you
Thank
down,
you.
sir, for this
Thank you.
particular session down.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because I should formally thank you down because in the midst of your engagements, I should thank Maria also. I think a little bit of a focus on Maria as well because I need to thank Maria as well for this particular session down for like the complete engagement which you did down, Maria. Thank you.
Mr. Vivek,
Thank you so much. It's been
for
a
us
pleasure.
such a nice audience. Very
And,
interesting questions.
It's been.
I think you are doing very interesting job.
Yes, we'll just finish.
Yeah.
I'll just say finish the thanks, and we can have a group together and a free discussion down. Just a couple of seconds, we'll just finish it down. So as we end the Café Scientifique, it's been a wonderful discussion. We thank Mr. Hrant Bagratyan for joining us for this wonderful discussion that we had. A complete, diverse participants who've just come down from the CUC, Concordia University's programs, the MBA program, the MA Innovations program, the UCA's, UCA Global MBA participants and the Union-Etonos participants who've just come inside. We thank him because he was, there has been various engagements and then like somewhere down we had this initially at 11 o'clock, we had this rescheduled at 6 o'clock. We thank all for participating in this particular session. Thank you so much. Thank you.